We begin all our meetings with a moment of silent meditation and the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask everyone to please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Eric? Roll call.
Oh, sorry. Marion Bird.
Here.
Dan Collison.
Here.
Mike Colucci.
Here.
Janine Coughlin.
Present.
Tony Duncan.
Here.
David Jaffe.
Here.
Eric Smith here.
The only item we have on our agenda tonight for the committee of the whole meeting is committee reports. And the committee report is a discussion of our proposed updated board policies. And I would ask Mr. Colucci to give us a quick update.
Okay, so the board voted back in the spring to adopt, or not to adopt, but to look into getting policies from through a law firm. We spent, we formed a policy committee. We met 4 times over the summer to review, all virtually, to review the new policy manual proposed by Through Law Firm. And we've adjusted the policies to fit our district where appropriate. And so now, tonight, we're presenting those policies to the board as a whole, and we will vote on adoption of those policies at our regular August board meeting. One thing to note is the state requires us to hold a public hearing for the bullying policy, and that will be held before the regular August board meeting.
So everyone should have a copy of the policies now. If you want to make a note, there are 2 policies that have, you'll see gray shading. They're still to be finalized. And they're in section 4405 and 5206. You'll see them in those policies. Those 2 still need to be finalized and discussed in advance of adoption. 4405 and 5206. Any other committee reports? Okay, we've reached the section of our committee of the whole agenda for public comment. If you're here to comment on the Return to Learn plan, we have another public comment section during the special meeting. I would encourage you to hold your comments until that section of the meeting. But if anyone else has a wish to address the board on any other matter, you're welcome to address the board at this time. Is there anyone here to address the board on any matters other than the Return to Learn plan? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn the committee of the whole meeting and move into the special meeting. And I'll call to order the August 10th, 2020 special meeting of the Saginaw Township Community Schools Board of Education. And we need to again call roll.
David Jaffe.
Still here.
Marion Bird.
Here.
Dan Collison.
Here.
Mike Colucci.
Here.
Janine Coughlin.
Present.
Tony Duncan. Here. Eric Smith here.
First on the agenda are approval of minutes. And the first is our minutes of our regular meeting of July 20th, 2020. Your motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes of our regular board meeting of July 20th, 2020.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Eric Smith, yes. Marion Bird.
Yes.
David Jaffe.
Yes.
Dan Collison.
Yes.
Tony Duncan.
Yes.
Mike Colucci.
Yes.
Janine Coughlin.
Yes.
The other set of minutes, we need to approve our board policy committee meeting minutes of July 27th, 2020. Because there are 4 members of the board who serve on that committee, it is recommended that we have minutes of those meetings. And if you recall, if you're not part of that committee and you're not at the meeting, you can abstain from voting on the approval of those minutes. There's a motion to approve the policy committee meeting minutes of July 27th.
So moved.
Mrs. Bird and Mrs. Coughlin seconds.
Yes.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Janine Coughlin.
Yes.
Mike Colucci.
Yes.
Tony Duncan. Dan Collison.
Abstain.
David Jaffe.
Yes.
Marion Bird.
Yes.
Eric Smith abstained.
Next on our agenda is approval of certificated staff, and I believe we have 4 teachers we are considering for positions in the district tonight. The first is Mackenzie Hall. Someone want to make the motion?
Sure. I move that the Board of Education employ Mackenzie Alm as a teacher beginning with the 2020-2021 school year. The appointment of this teacher is conditional on the district administration receives and verifies to its satisfaction all of the required information and qualifications pertaining to her.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Marion Byrd?
Yes.
Eric Smith, yes. Jan Collison?
yes,
David Jaffe?
Yes.
Mike Palucci?
Yes.
Tony Duncan?
Yes.
Janine Coffey?
Yes.
Next, for approval is Bronwyn Dubisky.
I'll take that. I move that the Board of Education employ Brown Ubinsky as a teacher beginning with the 2020-2021 school year. The appointment of this teacher is conditional until the district administration receives and verifies to its satisfaction all of the required information and qualifications pertaining to it.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Janine Coffey?
Yes.
Mike Palucci?
Yes.
Tony Duncan?
Yes.
Jan Collison?
yes,
David Jaffe?
Yes.
Marion Byrd?
Yes.
Eric Smith, yes.
Next is Nicole Hebert.
I move that the Board of Education employ Nicole F. Hebert as a teacher beginning with the 2020-2021 school year. The appointment of this teacher is conditional until the district administration receives and verifies to its satisfaction all of the required information and qualifications pertaining to her.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony Duncan?
Yes.
David Jaffe?
Yes.
Eric Smith, yes. Marion Byrd?
Yes.
Jan Collison?
yes,
Mike Palucci?
Yes.
Janine Coffey?
Yes.
And then finally, we have Janae Captain. Yep.
I move that the Board of Education employ Janae Captan as a teacher beginning with the 2020-2021 school year. The appointment of this teacher is conditional until the district administration receives and verifies to its satisfaction all of the required information and qualifications pertaining to her.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone here tonight, those four individuals? Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Eric Smith, yes. David Jaffe?
Yes.
Tony Duncan?
Yes.
Janine Coffey?
Yes.
Mike Palucci?
Yes.
Jan Collison?
yes,
Marion Byrd?
Yes.
Well, we as a board certainly welcome our new staff and look forward to having them joining our team. And look forward to meeting them in person when they are here. Next on the agenda is the approval of the elementary student and family handbook. Go ahead.
I move that the Board of Education approve the elementary student and family handbook for the 2020-2021 school year by changing the 2019-2020 handbook, updating the names and dates as appropriate. Future addendums may be required.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Jan Collison?
yes,
Janine Coffey?
Yes.
Mike Palucci?
Yes.
Marion Byrd?
Yes.
Tony Duncan?
Yes.
David Jaffe?
Yes.
Eric Smith, yes.
Then we have the approval of the Mackinac High School student handbook. Go ahead.
I move that the Board of Education approve the Mackinac High School student handbook for the 2020-2021 school year by changing the 2019-2020 handbook, updating the names and dates of appropriate. Future addendums may be made.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Marion Byrd?
Yes.
Eric Smith, yes. Jan Collison?
yes,
David Jaffe?
Yes.
Mike Palucci?
Yes.
Tony Duncan?
Yes.
Janine Coffey?
Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Martin, our superintendent, to provide his report focusing on COVID preparedness and leading us into discussion of that.
Thank you, President Jaffe. We began our planning process actually last spring while we were in the middle of our continuation learning plan. We obviously learned a lot of what worked well, what did not work so well, and what kinds of things needed to be improved. And so there was some preliminary planning done in June. However, we were waiting for the governor's declaration on June 30th, it would provide the roadmap, kind of the rules of the game, so to speak, so that we knew what our task was going to be. On June 30th, Governor Gretchen Whitmer issued Executive Order 2020-142 that included the recommendations from her COVID-19 task force on the Michigan Safe Schools Roadmap. This executive order requires districts to develop 3 plans in preparation for the fall: 100% in-person, 100% distance learning, and a hybrid combination of the two, or each of the 6 phases that the state may find itself in. At that point, we quickly dove in, had an administrative meeting that I believe it was that very next day to set our course, and started pulling together and identifying 43 members in the district that would serve on our district task force. The district task force met a number of times throughout the summer, both collectively and in their subcommittees. There were 6 subcommittees that met. They were meeting periodically as the large group was getting together once a week to hear reports and updates and wrestle with some of the more difficult portions of the planning process. At the same time, the identical process was taking place at the ISD level across the county. There was a main task force and then subcommittees at the county level. We had representatives from each of our 6 subcommittees that attended those meetings that were Saginaw Township representatives there. So as we've been moving forward, we've been developing plans for each of the 6 phases, wrestling with some very difficult issues. This obviously remains to be said that this has been the most difficult project I've ever worked on in my 29 years in business. It's one that has been extremely difficult to try to find solutions to every problem. It's obviously has been a very difficult situation for our staff and our families. And the thing that's most disappointing about the process is that it has caused a split in a number of our areas, including community members, including staff members. My goal when I work is to solve problems and try to bring unity. And this particular project has challenged both of those things. So we moved into a situation in the past couple of weeks where we presented our first draft, asked staff members and parents to respond to surveys, received enormous response, went through those over the course of several days, made adjustments and tweaks to our plan, met again with our task force to go over the results of those surveys. In the meantime, our principals have been meeting with their building staff, talking about issues that are particular to that building, that need to be personalized to some degree to that building. We then created a second plan and presented that to the Board of Education and communicated that out to all of our families and our staff. And then as we approached Friday afternoon's Board of Education retreat to really discuss the plan in earnest, I began realizing that I was becoming much more uncomfortable the closer we got to that. And I'll now discuss a couple of those points. There were one of the major issues that came up is recent data points and news information that's coming out is trending in the wrong direction, raising my concern to a new level. Such as of this past Friday, Saginaw Township has had 434 positive cases since the COVID data started being tracked, placing it as the 2nd highest rate in the county. Saginaw County is currently seeing the same number of new cases per day as we did in April and May, back when we were in phase 3. On Thursday of this past week, Governor Whitmer signed an executive order requiring face masks at all daycare centers and summer camps due to increasing positive cases after having those students together. As we all heard quite readily in the media, the Gladwin Summer Camp received a great deal of publicity in July for 53 positive cases tied to its youth camp, even with numerous safety protocols in place, according to the Detroit Free Press. Many Michigan school districts have announced an online model only for the start of school, including Grosse Pointe, Ann Arbor, Southfield, Farmington, Okemos, Lansing, Waverly, Royal Oak, Plymouth, Canton, Rochester, and Dearborn. Tonight, school boards in Grand Rapids and Bay City will be voting on a similar recommendation, as will Birmingham Board of Education tomorrow night. According to the Detroit News, this may seem peripheral, but it lends to the trend I'm talking about. According to the Detroit News, the Big Ten Conference will be announcing this week it's postponing its football season until the spring. The Mid-American Conference announced on Friday the postponement of all fall athletic programs. This past Thursday, the Lansing School District postponed all fall athletic programs, becoming the first public school district in the state to do so. And the Michigan legislature canceled all sessions this past week due to a positive case in the Senate, which forced a joint letter to be sent from the Superintendent's Association, the Intermediate School Association, the Michigan Association of School Boards, and the Secondary Principals Association, calling on the legislature to take action to ensure that Michigan schools can operate safely and efficiently in the 2021 school year. They were unable to act upon that because their session was canceled due to COVID cases. Based on a multitude of factors, including stakeholder feedback from our families and from our staff, COVID positivity rates in the area, an honest assessment of our ability to sanitize and properly clean a district of this size with the staff that is in place, national and state guidance, and frankly, my professional instincts, I am recommending that we start back to school in a remote learning model for the first marking period, for the month of September. During that time, we will assess our decision, and we will be prepared for a potential in-person return to school with a 3-week soft start in place, whenever that return might be, or a continuation of the remote learning depending on multiple data sources. My recommendation is that we offer a virtual option for our families, as we've stated from the very beginning, because we know we have families that are preferring to keep their students at home during this time until further notice. My recommendation would be for kindergarten through 8th grade to use Lincoln Learning Program after finding out some more information about Edgeunity at the lower levels. Our curriculum director, Jim Kratz, and I are becoming more and more uncomfortable with their ability to deliver the kinds of education we want. We have investigated Lincoln Learning and feel very good about that. Our principals have begun pilot studies of those and demos, and we're getting more and more encouraged the more we look at those. I recommend that we increase the amount of synchronous teaching at both the elementary and secondary levels. Synchronous teaching meaning the time the teachers are face-to-face with students in a remote learning fashion over computer, rather than posting lessons and not having face-to-face, as we had to do in the spring to a great extent. This would involve teachers physically interacting with their students in real time. Our instruction subcommittee, led by Ms. Kratz and Heritage Principal Brian Blaine, is studying recommendations from experts in this area and are developing guidelines for our teachers on exactly what those expectations will be for time, types of assignments, letter grades, attendance, all those kinds of details. My recommendation is that our staff members will be in the buildings delivering instruction from their classrooms rather than from home. Offices will be open, custodial teams will be cleaning, and other staff will be redeployed to other duties. These details are currently being worked out. My recommendation is to continue our very small licensed childcare program at Arrowwood for those families that have been using that service during the summer. My recommendation is to provide Chromebooks where needed and identify Wi-Fi resources in our community to ensure that all students are appropriately connected. I realize that this recommendation to begin in a remote fashion creates an even more urgent need to make sure all of our students have the devices they need and the access that they need. Also understanding that if we recommend those students report to our school buildings perhaps and use the parking lots to access the school's Wi-Fi, that right off the bat eliminates many of our at-risk families who do not have the means to be able to bring their kids to a parking lot, for instance, during the school day to access that. So we need to make sure we're getting the services to them. Our technology committee has developed a new web-based family tech support system to provide information and in some cases a live help desk to assist our parents and students with any issues that may arise during this remote learning time. I recommend that we provide support material packets for students with special needs where online learning might not be the best option for our most vulnerable students. I recommend that we continue with athletics in accordance with MHSAA guidelines and continue our extracurricular opportunities for students where safety can be maintained. Continue providing our nutrition services by providing lunch and breakfast, similar to what we did back in the spring. I recommend that we develop lifelines for students needing additional social emotional support during this delayed in-person start, including potential small group appointments at school with our counselors and or social workers with safety protocols in place, of course, as small groups of students move into the schools for those. There are obviously other points that need to be finalized, but depending on the plan that the board approves tonight, our Saginaw Township Task Force will get back together. We'll narrow in on those issues as we continue to fine-tune the overall plan. We've said from the beginning that the health, safety, and well-being of our students and staff would be our top priority in decision-making. After months of trying to develop a plan that meets every criteria in the governor's guidance, I need to finally accept that I'm not comfortable implementing a model that does not meet each and every one of these. I believe starting with remote learning is the safest approach to the start of school as we continue to monitor data, monitor situations in the county with the health department. I realize this has appeared, and folks have shared with me that they were concerned that it was a last minute recommendation to you. I want to remind you that I'm not talking about throwing out our plan and starting over. I'm talking about delaying the start of that original plan by 1 month. We still then would move into a soft start for 3 weeks with half of the students for the first several weeks of October. And then our goal is to move everybody back into full-time, each and every day instruction in the classroom on October 26th. And so that is my recommendation. I could not come to the meeting tonight knowing that in my heart I had serious reservations about being able to keep all of our students and staff safe. I realize this comes at a late time in the process, but it would have been dishonest and unprofessional of me to move forward and pretend that I had no reservations. So that is my recommendation at this time. I'm certainly open for questions and comments and moving into the process as directed by the president.
Any questions for Mr. Martin, clarification on the plan itself? Okay, then what we will do now is we'll open the floor for public comment. We welcome your comments and we're interested in hearing from you. If you wish to address the board, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please remember that issues or complaints involving an individual or staff member are best handled through administrative channels. And finally, know that it is the practice of the board not to respond to each speaker or engage in debate, although all your comments are always taken into consideration. At this time, does anyone wish to address the board? Come on.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Desiree Ramos. I reside at 3309 Trom Drive, Saginaw, Michigan, 48602. However, I have 2 children in Saginaw Township Community Schools, one in 8th grade at White Pine and a senior this year. They are considered in district as their father resides in the township. I just wanted to clarify that in case you're wondering. I will admit that I was very upset with the sudden change on Friday. And one of my first questions was, what were the multitude factors? And the superintendent did state what his multitude of factors is, which is basically the numbers are going up. But I do want to remind everybody that we still are, I believe, unless it's changed, hours in stage 4. And the governor is allowing us to go in person, but I do understand that each district comes up with a plan that fits their district. I do understand that. My big concern is I don't see any plausible way that our students can go back in October when you have cold and flu season just around the corner at that time. Kids are gonna get sick, they're gonna make a cough, they're gonna be sent home, as they should. And the only time for any normalcy for our parents and children would be for the month of September, maybe 2 weeks into October, maybe. I strongly believe, looking at all the data, that if it's gonna be in person at all, it has to be in September, or it's not gonna happen. If this board decides to accept this plan, I would ask you that you just call it what it is. Remote learning for the rest of the year, because I just don't see us going back. And as I said, I have an 8th grader and she's been doing fabulous. And I have a senior and she's been doing fabulous. They're both great students, great children, but their mental health is suffering. And when I talked to my senior about how she felt about this year, she just said she wanted some normalcy. If it was for a month, if it was for a week, she just wanted something. And she watches the news and she knows the later on we get in the year, the more likely that's not going to happen. And we're prepared for it. And we know this is a very real illness that is affecting everybody in the community. But I would just ask that if you're going to adopt the current plan, I would say just make it 100% remote and maybe look at it in the spring or look at it in the change of semesters. I hope my concern makes sense to everybody, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board in person this evening? Okay. So the board meeting, oh, I'm sorry, please come up.
Hello. My name is Cindy Burko. I'm Cyber Township President.
Hello.
We can hear you fine.
First and foremost, I think you're doing a great job servicing our leaders. I definitely think, in my opinion, virtual learning is the way to go. My question is, will you give us sample schedules on what will be expected from not only the students, but the parents of virtual learning? I'm concerned with if kids need to be logged in from 8 to 3, how working parents are going to be logging in, making sure their schoolwork is getting done while parents need to work. Or let alone, it's hard enough to find somebody to watch our children. Now we have to find someone to watch our children and teach them learning while we're working. So I was just wondering if we would see a sample schedule to see what's expected of our students and what's expected of the parents. For virtual learning to be successful, I feel strongly that it's going to be a commitment as not from the student, but as well as the parent. And I just wondered if, as the district, would offer like work from home options for parents who work in the district and are concerned with the virtual learning being the top priority, but also we want to stay employed, we want to stay working, we want to work in the district. I do currently work for the district, so that's why I'm asking if there'll be any remote work from home options, or will we be able to maybe modify the contracts where we can use our personal time off to stay home with our children during the month of September, or until we do go back face to face. I was making the decision for one child. I can't imagine how hard it is to make the decision for thousands of children. So just thank you for your support. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Please come up.
Handout there. That's wrong. It was all handled with clean.
Superintendent Martin, and this new board. I've certainly been monitoring you guys.
Can you start with your name and address?
Okay. Thank you. Julianne Lord Peterson on 1369 Passaic. So I have triplets and heritage, and we have 4 parents that buy in on whether the kids are going. I prefer face-to-face. The other 3 definitely do not. In my line of work, when I used to work high-rise residential, I used to be required, or at least to say that was a bailiwick of mine, would be to be creating static and dynamic water testing. structural testing, used to supervise aspects of that at other facilities or actually create the facilities on high rises myself. Thinking of that, I came up with a multitude. I've been working on this for weeks. I spoke to a friend of mine, Chris Stockwell. He owns, son of the owner, so I'm assuming he owns some entity of that with U.S. Steel. They're right in town. They have union workers. He's very conscientious. He does a lot of work for St. Mary's, and every week we're trying to come up with something new to help, the hospitals try to, keep COVID at a distance. I just strongly feel that if we could have, in addition to what I think I'm aware of for cleaning measures, I'm assuming they're doing the electrolyzed cleaning afterwards. I see the HVAC system as the same thing as a mask on each individual's face. Not knowing, obviously we need engineers. This needs to be planned to the nth degree that, as that system recirculates, how possible is it to drag any pathogens back through? Legionnaire's disease, that came from stagnant water and bird poop for the most part, that would get sucked in, under static loading off the roof, and there you go. So this is kind of similar. This utilizes what I think we can expand, and it seems doable to me. Monies, I'm not sure, which would be to have ideally a center distribution. You know that you have different units, so you have zoned units, and if we could create a large enough center distribution area, I'm talking about that being made on site, on the ground, inside a closed room. Obviously, maintenance, some individuals are manning that product that is made, which has a short shelf life of about 4 hours, can be run through a manifold, distributed, easily with your PEPs. And then there's actually atomizing nozzles that can be installed within the HVAC unit. My first plans, Chris.
I just want to remind you, your 3 minutes are up, so if you could wrap up, we want to be fair to everyone and make sure that everyone has equal time.
Okay. The least imposition on functionability and not a detriment to the life expectancy of product would be to attach these nozzles and provide a misted element of the disinfecting electrolyzed solution as that air comes back through, still with your upgraded filters that are still regularly changed, I would imagine, on a daily basis. It actually has to bridge or break through that element of misting, and then it makes its way, and when it comes back in, it'll be sanitized.
We can review your handout for more information.
Yeah, I put my phone number on there. I know this store has my email, and I know about money, and it's kind of don't even want to ask for money. I mean, I would volunteer myself.
Thank you for being here.
So anything, I would solicit anybody I knew that was in the business, for 40 years to see who would help. We have to have it in our district, otherwise pass the hat.
We appreciate your passion.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So the meeting was also being streamed live as a virtual meeting. So we also offered the opportunity for people at home who didn't want to come to submit written comments. And they also have the opportunity to call in. So as of the last time I refreshed the spreadsheet, we have 23 written comments to share with the board. I don't know if anyone else on their computer got a copy of the spreadsheet, but if so, I'm more than willing to share the responsibility for sharing the comments.
If you want to send it by email, we can do that.
It was an email from Jim Mitchell.
Oh, okay. I just haven't looked.
I'll get started, and if anyone else wants to, just raise your hand if you want to share in the sharing. So the first comment is from Jessica Bloom, 2314 Marshall Court. I'm wondering how STCS is planning on meeting the needs of students with disabilities during virtual learning. My 5-year-old nonverbal autistic son will not do well with virtual learning and needs in-person instruction. The next comment is from Kimber Crapo, who I know is also here, at 4044 Elgin Street. It's clear that virtual learning will require commitment from children and their parents for the best chance to be successful. Will the district offer work from home or furlough options for staff that want to commit to their children's education? Or will staff be able to exhaust time off options in order to stay home with their children? The next comment is from Karen Crapo at 6315 Cranston Place. Will the school offer any childcare options during the remote and soft opening for the working parents with no supports? Will the remote learning plan be flexible for working parents? How does the school plan to meet the emotional needs of children who have been home for the last 8 months upon their return, especially the incoming kindergartners? The next comment is from Portland Jillian at 3429 Elvin. President Trump said children are almost immune to COVID-19. Is this true? Can they still bring it home to their parents and grandparents who are not immune? There are reports of the Georgia school opening being riddled with cases of COVID-19. How will our schools be any different?
I have it now, David, if you want somebody to read some.
If you want to pick up 12, we can go back and forth.
So this would be
Michelle Larson.
Michelle Larson,
Yes.
6 Valentine Court, Saginaw, 48638. Why do you want to start remote learning in September with no face-to-face until October? This totally blindsided parents. No other district is doing this. It's only putting students further behind. 6 months without school now. We're unable to do remote learning in our home. We are nurse talking with many nurses and doctors. If we are comfortable sending our kids to school, open the school. This should be a family decision, not a board decision when no other districts are doing this. Too bad it's not too late for open enrollment for other districts. Hold on a second and let me zoom out so I can actually read this without squinting. All right, that's better. So that was 12:13. Nicole Bobek, 325 Alpine Way, Midland. Curious how the e-learning will go. It will have to be completed during the day or can it be done at night? I'm a single mom that works away from home. Also, when would early drop-offs be allowed again? All this is determining factors in my decision. Okay, what's that? Sure. So then I go on to Mike Ruby, 4211 Teakwood Court. I completely disagree with a month-long delay in the in-person learning. We have ample time to adapt and have an adequate plan in place to do our best in keeping staff and students safe. This further delay impacts the children and families negatively. Nurses, doctors, my employees, all sorts of jobs have been deemed essential. In-person learning is equally and in most cases more essential for our children. Any further delay just puts us all further behind. Okay?
Go ahead, Tony.
Next one's Emily Geibel, 4090 Morningside Lane. I'm still worried about adequate spacing during lunch. And the high schools have an open campus policy this year, so students can go home for lunch. And next one is by the Yaks, 4973 Fontaine Boulevard. My concern is nutrition services and those children choosing to stay home. If the household qualifies for free lunch, will there be any nutritional services offered to them while at home? And next one is Lindy Shaw, 4899 Audubon Drive. If my child is doing in-person learning, how will he receive instruction if he is required to stay at home due to COVID protocols? For example, he has a running nose. I imagine there will be significantly more absences this year for things like this. How will our children receive instruction if they're absent for 1 to 10 days?
Sure. Donna Grassett of 2855 Schaefer asked, will students get lunches again for pickup? Phil McCarthy at 4583 Hackett Road. How will classes at the career complex be conducted? Right, 3 short ones. Michelle Larson, 16 Valentine Court. I believe this may be an additional question. What public health data are you using that is influencing your decision to change the plan from the previous final return to learn?
You want to take one more?
I would have to. Return on. sorry, what number are we on?
21.
I apologize.
Oh, you got a, you got a big one.
My touch screen went a little crazy on me. Now, this one doesn't come with a.
It's at the name is at the bottom of the box.
Alma Cruz asked, or public comment was, I am not very happy, I'm gonna take this off if you don't mind, with the new plan, and not because it's bad, but you are not thinking of parents who are essentially working or cannot or do not have the choice to stay home 5 days a week to help their children with remote learning. My son had great stress and trouble during the spring because I was not home to help him. And I know for a fact, I'm not the only parent with this concern. I was so happy with the first plan of doing soft plan and allowing kids to be able to go face-to-face at the beginning of the year. I don't understand why it's changed. We all know that come October, when you know you now want to start face-to-face, it's not going to happen because of the flu season. Flu season will start and eventually something will happen that won't allow face-to-face. So there's some grammatical things in here going on. So why not start kids and help us parents and at least let them do face-to-face twice a week, especially with our children. They deserve to be able to interact in school and help them get that sense of what it's going to be like. With your new plan, it has now put a great stress on me and many, many parents who are at a loss on what to do when remote starts. And we cannot be home 5 days a week to help our children because of our essential jobs, period. Other districts are letting kids do at least twice a week face-to-face starting September. So why are you not doing this for us? Please understand my frustration and stress. The last thing I need is for my child to be stressed and frustrated during remote learning when he won't be able to stay in a quiet, focused area like his home because mom and dad have to work to provide. I don't say that I'm against it, but not 5 days a week. Give our children a chance to be able to feel that what school's like again, and have a face-to-face teacher when it's needed.
Anybody else? No, that mic. Go ahead, Eric, please.
Phil McCarthy, 4583 Hackett Road. This comment is, my wife and I do not agree with the superintendent's plan and want our children to have full-time face-to-face learning in the classroom with a teacher starting November 1st.
September.
Starting September 1st.
I thought you said November, so.
Oh, no. Next line, Alicia Avila, address 821 Ferry Street, Saginaw, Michigan. Her comment is, will middle school students be changing classes every hour during the soft phase?
Comment as the,
Yeah, I'm making a list of people who want to call in, and we'll deal with those call-ins. Swimming technology works in the curriculum class.
You want to skip those and just let them call in?
I think you chair, because most of them are pretty short, just in case that we can't be.
Nancy Logic, 4855 Hillcrest. You listening on
Did you skip over the one that was before that?
Kimberly Dancing?
Yeah, just said online.
It just says online. Yeah. So, Chris Pryor, 442 Autumn, says, what are our thoughts regarding false posts?
You want me to take over?
Sure.
Kelly Hammis, 4555 Sergeant Lane. When we go back in person, it's my understanding that each family will screen their child. They're going to scroll over now. Which number am I?
Hello?
What number are we on? Sorry.
27.
27. Okay. When we go back in person, it's my understanding that each family will screen their child at home and no screening will be done at school. Will there be a survey done and effort made to ensure that every family with a child attending in person has a thermometer? Chad Peterson, that just says none. And Coney, let's see, first name, Nokitsa Coney. I would like to know if after-school activities club will be occurring this year. Personally, need childcare after school and need children on the days my son is not to report for face-to-face learning. I'm a single parent and do not have a way to teach my child while he is with a sitter. You want to take over?
Next one is Beverly Lee, 6795 Highland Drive, South. It is very important for students to return to in-person learning. The CDC has said, quote, there are many reasons why opening schools in the fall of 2020 for in-person instruction is important. According to the CDC, quote, schools play a critical role in the well-being of communities. Schools provide critical instruction and academic support. Social and emotional health of students can be enhanced through schools. Schools play a critical role in supporting the whole child. Mental health of students can be fostered through school support and services, and continuity of our special services is important for student success. The CDC has also said that, quote, lengthy school building closures can leave some students feel isolated from important friendships and support from other caring adults. Schools also provide critical psychological, mental, and behavioral health services to children. End quote. Additionally,
Hey, I can't hear nothing.
isolation and uncertainty about the COVID-19 pandemic can create feelings of hopelessness and anxiety while removing important sources of social support. And students need the structure and routine that in-person instruction provides. Quote, schools provide a unique and critical role which makes them a priority for opening and remaining open. Additionally, the CDC has reported children appear to be at a lower risk for contracting COVID-19. Quote, STCS can and must prepare to return to in-person learning in time for the start date of school. This can be achieved by coordinating, planning, and preparing to have students return to in-person learning in time. Next one down, Joe Brown, 5355 South Glen Oak Drive, safety of all. Andre Barrero, 2877 Nottingham Drive, West. Our family supports distance learning with our own teachers for the entire first semester. Marlana Court, 3090 Churchill Lane, Apartment 3, Saginaw, Michigan. If the athletic program will continue, how will children be transported and maintain social distancing from home?
Shaniqua Hamilton, 171 Camelot Drive, T7, would the Chromebooks be provided for the children? Jennifer Weiss, 4198 Kroger Trail East. If the district is going to complete online learning, why wouldn't I enroll my children in an online school that's more equipped to teach online instruction? And Stephanie Alice Lewis, 6621 Vista. Students need to go back in September because month after month it will be delayed again. There are not any cases in these classrooms, and it's time to move forward. Quit delaying for what ifs. These kids are getting together already in groups without masks. Kids are going to birthday parties without masks. Let's get this school year started.
Can I comment?
Sure. Scott Furtaw, 2711 Brandon Place. Our family greatly appreciates the work everyone has put into planning the upcoming school year. We understand that the plan may change, as it did Saturday morning, but our deadline is still this Friday to decide what to do with our children. We would appreciate names and phone numbers to contact Edgenuity to answer questions. We have many, which makes it difficult for us to make a decision. Thank you all for your time.
Hello?
This is number 38. One of us can scroll down and read the name, and then the other one can read the comment.
Ellen Freegan,
Friday.
17 East Hannum Boulevard. With all due respect for the difficult work that goes into bringing students back to school in these uncertain times, and by no means intending to suggest that students should be brought back to an environment where it's not possible to achieve safety protocols. I am having difficulty understanding the details necessary for me to feel that my high school students will be receiving the quality education that I have come to expect from this school. Please consider my following concerns and suggestions in your deliberation. 1. Our students need structure and accountability from day one of this school year. This could best be achieved by direct personal contact from each teacher to ensure the students understand the class expectations and proper connectivity to fulfill those expectations. This should be followed by regular personal contact with the teacher. 2. Learning through video presentation and reading online only is not optional. Many students in classroom interaction and discussions fully master the content. I have not seen details of how technology will be utilized to ensure optimal learning. Given the increased burden on parents to ensure fulfillment of educational goals, teachers at the high school need better parent communication. To my disappointment, Skyward has not been uniformly followed by high school teachers in the past and cannot be the only expectation going forward. Regular email correspondence, perhaps teacher-initiated phone calls should be expected and enforced by administrators. 4. The social pipelines, quote unquote, reference in Superintendent Martin's opening comments should be mandatory on each student, not voluntary. My teams do not volunteer for extra work and have difficulty seeking to support them. 5. Please consider small group in-person meetings with each teacher, ideally with classmates. That means safety protocols to kick off this remote learning moment. For example, bring 1/4 of the students to school with laptops back to school for the first week to ensure that the kids are set up for success. 6. There are still so many details left. The statement that there will be accountability does not satisfy me after this last spring's failure. Please continue to release details.
The 39, I think. That's what I share.
I can do that.
Please.
Ashley Cardenas, 4730 Country Way, Saginaw, Michigan. What will you be doing for our ECSD kids? The plans on state K-12. Jason Christensen, 5963, Your Worst Drive. Open the schools. 99.6% recovery rate should not create alarmists. Parents who elect to opt out and do virtually can. Parents who elect to opt out and do virtual can. And the last one I have here is Megan Sheldon, 1604 Lakewood Avenue. Our family fully supports the recommendations made by Mr. Martin. The health and safety of our children and our community is most important.
Thank you, everybody, for helping to provide those comments. It's important in the interest of transparency and process that we share both the comments that were made in person as well as virtually, so that everyone's perspective can be heard. Obviously, most of the comments were submitted prior to the meeting and Mr. Martin's comments. So some of the questions that were posed may have been answered already. Others, I know the administration will take note of and will follow up as appropriate. By my notes, we also have, it looks like 5 people who wanted to dial into the meeting. And I'll be honest, at this point, I don't know what the process is for that.
I believe that you should be able to access the minutes over here by turning it on.
We've also been recommended by Mr. Mitchell at home, who run the command center, that we need to make sure we use our teacher voice so that the laptop can do that.
Hard to use our teacher voice with our mask on.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Sounds like we're being muffled.
Okay. So the first person that I have on the list who wanted to call in was Adam Heinrich. Adam, are you there?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
You have to push *6 to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Adam Heinrich. Okay. How about Alicia Avila? Alicia, *6 to unmute if you want to address the board.
This is Adam. Can you hear me?
Third on the list was
Kim.
Chris
Can you hear me?
Pryor.
Hello?
Chris, if you're there, it's your turn. *6 to unmute. Next would be Marlena Cork. Ms. Cork, if you're there.
Are you able to?
And
Yes, can
finally
you
is
hear me?
Shaniqua Hamilton.
Can you hear me?
Ms. Hamilton is there.
Hello?
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 Hello.
Hello?
Yes,
We're 0 for 5.
This is Marlena Ford. Hello?
So there's text coming through from people, but it's not coming.
hello.
This, I'm
The
here.
computer is not muted.
Hello?
Volume's,
We can see you looking in the screen.
Hello? I'm here.
We can see you looking in the screen.
so this is supposedly connected to the live stream?
Hello? My question was actually read. I can hang up. That's fine because it's a lot of feedback on the phone.
I mean, I don't know what we're doing here. We need Jim here rather than.
Fine because it's a lot of feedback on the phone.
Oh, my guess is it's between here and where's it? Are we supposed to hear it off of here?
Can you hear me?
And then hit speaker. The 3 dots at the bottom.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Speaker.
I'm gonna put you on speakerphone, Jim.
My mic is not working,
Oh.
but they're dialing in.
Too much feedback, sorry.
Oh, here. I don't have any expertise.
Okay, I think, they're looking for the.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
I don't hear anything now.
Yeah, me neither. Hello?
Yeah. I don't know if she hit something that didn't allow the speakerphone to go down. I saw her working on it, but not sure.
You can hear me?
I can hear you, but
Oh, okay.
I'm on the phone line, so we're in the same
Right.
situation.
I really can't even hear the whole meeting anyways. It's like muzzled.
See, now were you just via phone or were you trying to do online as well?
I was trying to do online and it prompted me to do phone.
See, I was able to do the online. I could hear the phone, but I could also hear.
Hey, Jim, I'm here. I have the live stream. I don't know how we want to do the sequence of questions. And I'll turn my speakers up as loud as I can.
So if we have all the folks online, I'll ask everybody to mute themselves.
Yeah, the phone sound muzzled.
And I'll read the names again. When that individual is called, they can unmute themselves and speak.
Why don't you repeat it, their names? Like,
Yeah, well.
All right, let's start with Adam Heinrich and see if we can get this to work.
Adam Heinrich, are you there?
Yep. Good evening. This is Adam. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think the board can hear you. All right, please proceed, Adam.
Great. Thank you. So I'd just like to say a couple things. One, like I think a lot of the comments you've heard, I think the plan is not boding well with the community. You know, I think the plan was in place and you gave the parents a choice already. Granted, we haven't been able to make the choice. Excuse me?
We're still here. Keep talking.
Okay, somebody cut in, sorry. You know, Mr. Martin, you mentioned that some of the case levels are within when we were in phase 3, but the plans, you know, was very specific that we were going to move to phase 4 before we went back home again. So it almost feels like it should have been phase 5 if that's what, you know, was intended to be done. I think making the decision 3 weeks in advance is a little premature. I feel like if we're going a month to month, we're never going to get back to school. I feel like you need to let things play out a little further before you make that decision. You know, the month of September could be the best month the Emergency Preparedness Region 3 has ever seen. You know, we don't know that. There's way too many factors that go into the cases, and I think the cases is the justification for why this is going this way. Lastly, you know, no matter what the board does, I hope that we can put some protocols in place to decide when these decisions are going to be made. It's almost feels cynical that that this came out right after the survey period and everything was closed. It's a week too late. Lastly, if the board would just consider the fact that before you vote, the parents did already make the decisions, and it just feels like a gross overreach to step in and work on top of that. I don't understand what's being protected by making the decision yourself and not allowing the stakeholders any input. So thanks for listening, and hope to get in the classroom on beginning of September.
Thank you.
Can I speak now?
Alicia Avila.
Is Alicia Avila there? All right.
Hello?
Who is it that wants to speak?
Kimberly Dancy.
Kimberly Dancy, is she on your list? All right. All right. So Kimberly, you can go ahead. We'll start your 3 minutes, please.
I have like a concern about everyone's safety. I mean, not saying that everyone is not going to follow protocol. We don't know this. I'd rather do online. I don't know about everybody else. For my child's safety as well, because it's obviously they don't have nothing to protect but to wash your hands and to stay 6 feet. I don't see how that's going to happen with kids. Kids are, I just don't feel like it would be safe, personally. As far as like online, I feel like all the teachers should be on the same accord. Everyone should be just safe and see like as far as like the classes is how they have it in college. and where they're going to be able to have these answers and, questions and answers at the same time within that hour. And if they're going to do like classes, they should do class like one main course each day. Other than that, I just want everybody to be safe. And I especially, my child, everyone's kids, I just feel like it's not going to be safe no time soon, regardless to however everybody feel about it. That's all I really have to say.
All right, thank you for your comments.
Chris was next. Chris Pryor.
Chris Pryor. All right, please speak.
First of all, I want to just commend the board, Mr. Martin, the extensive work that you all have done in regards to keeping us well informed. You've done an outstanding job when it comes to communicating, keeping us abreast of the changes. This is the most difficult time for all of us in these difficult situations. So I can understand the pressure of each of you as board members. But again, the communication has been very upfront in comparison to other places around, and just amongst the nation, I'm able to have that. So I understand, and my point is the safety overall for the children. I think with this latest move is it's a little setback, but it provides us a little time to just see what else is happening. And so I respect that move, although it may be difficult for us. It does give us as parents a little comfort time to evaluate. Although we already see what's taking place in Georgia, we see the football community of what they're doing, even the Big Ten, which is a major moneymaker of pulling back. So I understand that, and I appreciate you all looking at the safety of the students as well as the parents, as well as the teachers, as well as the bus drivers. It's a lot of pressure. So I want to commend you again for all that you've done. I know you have people on both sides, and it's difficult. But with that, you've done a great job in regards to communicating. I would say the same thing if we sense some hesitation, maybe within our sports or athletics, to post, because the number one thing is the safety of children. And regardless of those who want to go back, no one wants that child who takes ill or sick to be their child. So, to some degree, people say this cannot happen to me, or it may not happen to us. If it does, that's the most detrimental thing, and the heart that we feel and the hurt due to that. So I respect your pause in regards to seeing what the rest and how it will play out for others. I, to agree, think it's smart. You're not saying wait all the way to the end of the year. We're just gauging. So good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else?
Anyone else on the line want to speak? Ms. Avila, Ms. Cork, or Ms. Hamilton?
Is there any, specifically Ms. Avila, Ms. Cork, or Ms. Hamilton? Would any of you like to speak? All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time?
Just let y'all know it's kind of muzzled on the phone. You can't hear you well.
Okay. Well, what's important is we can hear you guys very well. So yeah,
Thank you.
That's so. Yeah, we're pretty much just thanking the speakers, but so I'm glad you can hear us, and it has been a problem with my computer that I need a separate mic that I don't have right now. But thank you. All right.
I think we're good to cut off that feed.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. I'm going to leave the meeting. Okay, can you hear the board again?
Yes.
Is it, are you in communication with Jim?
We're just waiting for a text, a thumbs up from someone.
Frozen and no sound.
One said yes for me, yes, the other yes.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, so thank you.
Good call.
So, because not everybody heard, I'll repeat, thank you for everyone who's provided their comments here in person. And thank you to everyone who submitted comments on the online spreadsheet and who called in. We appreciate all of your comments and feedback. We'll take everything into account. Thank you. With that, we've reached the point of the agenda for consideration and approval of the district's return to learn plan, and would entertain a motion to that effect.
You want to do it, Tony? You want to do that?
Go ahead.
I move this Board of Education adopt the attached return to learn plan.
And for clarity, the plan that's being referred to is the one that Mr. Martin outlined, providing for remote or virtual learning through September, the soft start, in the plan that was outlined in the email that went out early Saturday, just for clarification.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Is there flexibility? I've received feedback from a series of teachers on the flexibility of coming in to teach. That could be a full-time, one of the recommendations coming to the classroom. Could be a mix of legally for.
My expectation would be that our staff would be on site in their classrooms, teaching, collaborating, using that time in the building. We obviously have a few folks that have reached out to Mr. Stronsky in the HR department with some underlying health conditions. Mr. Stronsky is working through those on a case-by-case basis to see where students, or to see where staff members fit into some of the different exemptions, so to speak. We would certainly be willing to listen to somebody who has a concern. I'm currently working on trying to figure out how to help people with the issue of school-age kids that then would be left at home if mom and dad are here. Trying to figure out if there's something I can do to help in that regard. But the expectation would be that people are here unless there's a unique situation that they would work through Mr. Stransky.
I'd just like to say that I appreciate all of the tremendous amount of work that Mr. Martin, Jamie, and the administration and the task force, both here and at the ISD, have put into this. I would love to see kids go back to school. The one that comes to mind most for me is the kindergartner that's been looking forward to going to their first day of kindergarten for a year and is going to lose that thing. And then there's the kindergartners that just need to be in school. What I want to really address is for those people that feel like this was a last minute decision, the reason it feels that way is I know Mr. Martin wants students to be in school for face-to-face learning. And he worked tremendously hard to look at every possible way for us to do that in a way that would be safe and appropriate for both the students and the staff. And came to the conclusion that we're just not ready for that, both because of the circumstances that exist in the community at large and the things that we would need to do to make it safe given those circumstances. So while I am, I'm saddened, to have to delay because I think it's tremendously important for students to be in school to learn. I fully support the administration in their recommendation and the passion and energy they put into getting that.
Other comments or questions from the board?
I do. I am a grandmother of 4 here, well, 7, but I have 4 here in the school district. And I want them back in school. But if they can't have 6 feet distancing and they're forced to wear a mask, remember, we're not air conditioned. And you sit in those air conditioned rooms in all of September when it's still 85 degrees, and we have inside rooms without windows. So there isn't the ventilation coming in and out. October, maybe it'll be cooler, maybe things will be different. And in October, maybe we will have more cleaning available for them, and we'll be able to hire more people to get cleaning. Right now, we've got it posted and we're not getting people to hire for cleaning. It just, there's so many things out there that is not available for everybody to understand with all the rules and regulations. So for me, as a grandmother of 4 whose daughter says get those kids back in school, I had to do a lot of talking for her to understand that I get that, but to me, I'm not safe sending them back yet. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Sure. Who's going around?
Or everybody wants to.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my concern, while I echo Mike's sentiments to the board and to how hard the superintendent and staff, the curriculum director, teachers, principals have worked on trying to resolve this issue in a way that gets kids back in class. I am more aware of it than probably most people listening, as most of the board is. And I can't express to everyone out there how hard they work. Having said that, I'm on the fence about the plan. I understand about all of the safety issues. I understand about all of the safety numbers, and the risk that lies with those numbers. The thing that I like to, or not like to, but the thing that I feel the need to bring to light is the other side of that coin are those kids who don't have the capacity to do online learning, the kids who don't have the environment to do online learning. Even if we have, even if we were a one-to-one district, which we're not, even if we were able to put a laptop and a wireless access point in every home and in every student's hands, there'll still be that percentage of students whose home is just not conducive to learning. And the effect of those students will be, it's a different effect on their lives, but it's the same end, which is we put their future in danger when we don't give them an opportunity to come to school. For some kids, school is the only place they eat. School is a place they get structure. Without school, it's difficult. It'll be difficult for them to succeed. And for most of those kids, the chips are already stacked against them. So for those reasons, you know, it's a very tough decision, and it's something that we need to consider if we move forward with this plan. And the other thing I guess I'd like to quickly emphasize is this is a plan. So behind this general plan, there's many details, some of which are worked out, some of which are yet to be worked out. And in the process of working out those details, I would hope we can work something in to address and help out those families and those kids who depend on us for their future.
Thank you.
Goodness, the board retreat that we had really was very draining after coming out of that and listening and reading and knowing all of the work that's gone in, knowing that people want their children back in school. And I think one of the items mentioned was this is not normal, what this plan is. There is no more normal. There is a new normal. And I am not comfortable seeing a 6-year-old back in a classroom if we can't guarantee, and we can never guarantee, and what happens if somebody gets sick, and what happens if the staff member gets sick. And I was worried because I thought that I was not gonna vote for the face-to-face because I thought, to me, there was just too much risk in doing so. And having worked, they call us an essential worker. It may be a store, but I can tell you since March, I've seen people coming in who are not compliant. and they think that wearing a mask is a removal of their political freedom. And one of the things that I find greatly disturbing is that how polarizing this has become and how political it has become. And notwithstanding the media here, I think the media presentations, especially from the cable perspective, have been shameless, absolutely shameless. So I look elsewhere to get my news. Because are their numbers adequate? Probably not. But is the disease real? Yes, it is. I have family members who work in it every single day. And I fear for them every single day. So I don't think that COVID is going to go away as soon as some people might like it to. So I think asking people just to wear a mask has become so difficult. Asking them to please keep a social distance. I've had people yell at me and tell me that it's absolutely ridiculous and unneeded. And people are still going to their large gatherings. I think the biker event this past weekend, the young woman who took the picture of the Georgia classroom or hallway as students were being let out. I think for those who can remember Richard Nixon and his exploits, the language was follow the money. And I think here what we need to do is follow the science. And in my heart, the science says we're not ready to go back and put those children in the classrooms. And until we can get a better feel, until we can get better answers from the people that have dedicated many hours and hours and hours of their lives to put together this plan, I don't think it was something that was just tossed out of hand and we're going to erase everything. So I am hopeful that people will give us just a little bit of time. I think I would love to have kids back in school, and I know what they've missed. But I think that I wouldn't be able to live with myself or my decision if I didn't give them this time to pursue. So I will be voting in support of the remote plan.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to applaud all of my colleagues and Bruce and the entire team for all their work on this. The hours have been incredible. The emotion has been incredible. I'm so proud. This is the most transparent team I've ever worked with. I've worked in a lot of different industries. I am, like Eric, I think I'm on the fence and have a lot of conflict. My head knows the right thing to do, and I can nod and say, we're not ready. With the cleanliness of the schools, I recognize all those factors. But my heart is telling me something else. We had graduation last week. I have a senior that graduated this year. And we did graduation very safely, Heritage High School, middle of the football field. And the very first young lady that came up on the stage was riddled with emotion. She was shaking and crying and grabbed me, and y'all know me, I'm a hugger. Yep, and I hugged her on the back. And she kept saying, thank you, Mrs. Coughlin. Thank you, Mrs. Coughlin. And I keep going back to that moment in my head, but the social emotional aspect of it is not being school. And that's where my conflict is. Yes, there are absolutely safety issues, 100%. But there's underlying things that we won't understand today, tomorrow, in a year, 5 years on this. So I think my heart's going to win, while my head, like I say, appreciates, knows all that hard work, and knows why they came to their decisions. I guess I'm doing that for all those kids that are emotional and need to go back. Thank you.
The heart matters.
So I echo all of everybody's concerns in regards to wanting kids to go back to school, wanting to go back safe. And that is absolutely our goal. All I want to kind of add to the conversation, because otherwise I'll probably repeat this thing, is a layer that hasn't really talked about much. We talk about students and staff. And the staff in this scenario has to be something we aggressively think about as it relates to, they are in need, which it's not just about being safe, it could be your life. All right, so I think it's important that when we look at this, that there's also scenarios of logistics where we have quarantine, we got 2 or 3 teachers out in any given school. There's already a teacher shortage. We will be in the situation, I believe, as we discussed, that we have to shut down the whole school because there is no teacher to teach it. Right? So that's something that we have to factor into this. Is it the most important? But no one really had all the comments and public comments. There hasn't been discussions around really our most vulnerable, which is our staff.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, both whether you're here in person or online. I think the number of people who joined us in one form or another evidences our community's interest in our back-to-school plan. It evidences their love of our children, their pride in our schools, and their care for our community. I want to thank Mr. Martin, your administrative team, like everyone else. The effort you put into developing our proposed plan is remarkable, and you deserve a huge debt of gratitude from the community. Whether you agree with the plan as recommended or take issue with it, there's no doubting the hard work that our administrative team put into this plan and the debt of gratitude that's owed. I also want to thank the 41 members of the Return to Learn Task Force who gave up part of their summer vacation to help develop the plan, because their input in the process was also invaluable. We had 2,060 community members who responded to the district survey about the first draft of the plan and offered valuable feedback. I want to thank everyone for participating in that survey. I also want to thank our staff members who responded to a separate survey, as well as the many, many parents, teachers, and community members who expressed their views throughout this process to the administration and the Board of Education through letters and phone calls and other communications. This process has demonstrated that our community is divided on many of the issues surrounding COVID and returning to school, just like our country is divided. The survey results we got back from our parents were almost equally divided. There's no question in my mind that we need to get our children back to face-to-face, full-time learning at the earliest opportunity. Virtual or remote learning simply can't take the place of face-to-face learning. As has been said, many in our community do not have access to high-speed internet. Many don't have parents at home during the day to help them navigate online school. School closures can increase food insecurity, and those most at risk of falling behind face even tougher odds. Our children's social, emotional, and intellectual health will be better with face-to-face learning. I have 3 kids in the district, and my wife and I very much want to get them back to face-to-face learning as soon as possible. However, face-to-face learning also presents issues we can't ignore. Although everything we do in life presents risks, in most cases we understand those risks. With COVID, there's still some things we don't understand. How likely is it that a child will transmit COVID to his or her parents or grandparents? How likely is it that COVID can be spread from touching a common surface? What will happen to case counts when large numbers of students congregate in a school building, and will those cases be serious? Valid concerns have been raised about students, staff, and community safety. In light of all these competing considerations, I think the recommendation presented by the administration to start remotely for a month before moving to face-to-face learning presents the best solution to try to take into account the concerns of both sides. The recommendation is not to go remote for the entire first semester, like some districts are doing. By the same token, the recommendation is also not to ignore all the open questions and plow forward full speed ahead. The recommendation allows the district to put additional safeguards in place, allows us to make sure that our buildings are as clean as possible, and allows Saginaw Township to be the safest, cleanest, and most responsible district possible. It also allows us to observe what happens in other districts at the outset to see what causes problems and address those issues before they happen here. And the recommendation takes into account the significant concerns of our staff. Without her, we can't reopen. This is so frustrating, and I think my fellow board members would agree that this is so frustrating because there's no perfect answer. We all have COVID fatigue, and we all just want this to be over. We want to protect our kids, our teachers, and our community from the transmission of COVID. We also want our kids to have a quality education that moves them forward towards their goals in life. I heard an analogy the other day that I thought was really good. As a community and a state and a nation, we continue to climb up a steep hill with respect to COVID. Whatever your thoughts are about the plan being recommended, whether you agree or disagree, and whatever the outcome of the vote tonight, I hope we can all stand behind each other and help push each other up that hill, because it's going to make the fight much easier than standing in front of each other, pushing each other down. So I want to thank all of my fellow board members for all of your hard work and time during this process. This is nothing that any of us have been trained for, that we've dealt with in the past, and God willing, we never have to face it again. And to everyone in our community, I thank you for your patience and grace as we move forward. Any other comments, questions? If not, roll call, please.
Mary Ann Bird,
Yes.
Dan Collison,
Yes.
Mike Calucci,
Yes.
Janine Kaufman, Tony Duncan,
Yes.
David Jaffe,
Yes?
Eric Smith, no.
It's now the job of our district's administrative team to implement this adopted return to learn plan in the safest way possible for our students, staff, and community, and get our kids back to face-to-face learning as soon as possible. We have one more item on our agenda, and that's the approval of emergency purchases of personal protective equipment and cleaning supplies.
I move that the Board of Education approve PPE and cleaning supply orders to various vendors totaling $110,509.03. See attached to this bill.
Support.
Discussion?
Now, is this the first phase of cleaning supplies, would you say?
I would say yes, this
Okay.
is the biggest bulk.
Okay.
We're still tying some loose ends on a couple of other things, but we'll bring those to you at the time. But this is the largest part of it. We've already received several of these things, but
Right.
under the board policy, the board gave me authority in an emergency to
Right.
place some orders so that we can make sure we had enough time to get the product on site.
Other question? Roll call, please.
Mary Ann Bird,
Yes.
Eric Smith, yes. David Jaffe,
Yes?
Jan Collison,
Yes.
Tony Duncan,
Yes.
Mike Calucci,
Yes.
Janine Kaufman.
Yes.
With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Eric Smith, yes. Mary Ann Bird,
Yes.
Janine Kaufman.
Yes.
Mike Calucci,
Yes.
Tony Duncan,
Yes.
David Jaffe,
Yes?
Jan Collison.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
you and we
everyone.
appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.